we've all listened. I think for me, the issues are clear. The task of the committee is to look at the role of the police and the SSS in this whole process. Whether they did a good job, a thorough job, a shady job, or there was an attempt by anyone to cover up. And I think that we're all there. Now my position is very clear. First, I had argued or raised alarm that I believe my late private secretary, Comrade Olaitan Oyerinde, was assassinated. This evening, you heard the Deputy Commissioner of Police, who is the IPO on this case, saying that he was actually pursuing that assassination theory. He believed it is a case of assassination. I'm sure you heard him. Yet, you also know from the police report, the men the police had paraded as being responsible for the murder of Olaitan have not been charged for assassination. They've been charged for armed robbery and murder. So the question is, if he was pursuing assassination theory, why did he charge these people for armed robbery? You also must have listened, and I hope you all have your records, the first sentence by the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. Gana. His first opening words was like, the armed robbers that went to Olaitan Oyerinde. So he already knew they were armed robbers even before he started this investigation. Now compare that statement to that of the SSS DG, who says some gunmen went to Olaitan's house. Whether these gunmen are armed robbers, the hired assassin, was a matter that can only be established after the investigation. I don't know whether you are getting the fine point I'm making. That the police walk to an answer, they are armed robbers, even before you find out who they are. And I think the SS position of saying they are gunmen, yes, they were armed, but whether they are armed robbers has to be established. Even though in the end, from the investigation of the SSS, from their point of view, they believe that these people were armed robbers. I had told them I didn't quite agree because of the fact that, and I think the DC police also amplified this, that this assassin had asked to know who was Olaitan among the two men that they found in the house. And I'm like, if they were just armed robbers, why would it matter whether you are a husband or not a husband? They will just do what they have to do and cut away whatever they can find. I think the second issue I had raised before, and has been confirmed today, is that the police deliberately went out to fish for innocent people to parade as suspects in this case, in order to divert attention and or criminalize innocent Nigerians, like the case of Reverend David Ugolor. Again, you listened to the question put to the DC. Have you established any material fact? Since you, from his own narrative and from the police report, the entire interaction between the two suspects was through telephones. Have you analyzed the call log? And his answer was, yes, we did. The first telephone did not show any link between the two. The second telephone was inconclusive. You heard him say that. Which is to say, he has not established any link between David Ugolor and the other suspect. So why the hell did you detain David for 42 days? We are in a democracy, we are not in a police state. And now the issue is, why will police go after an innocent Nigerian? why go out, why detain an innocent person? It can only be because you want to divert attention from the real culprits. And since they are working from the point of view of assassination, it means there must be somebody who is the actual principal, who sponsored these assassins, who recruited these well-known criminals to carry out the assassination. And my own insistence is that the police is trying to cover up that principle by hurriedly charging wrong people who are known criminals. Police know who the criminals are. And I think it's also of interest for you that one of the evidence, one of the issues we had raised, was that how could the police charge someone who was in their custody as far back as April 24th for the murder of someone who was killed on May 4th. And you heard what the police said. They agreed that at page 86 of their report that it was a typographical error. But you heard the question the chairman put to them. Okay, if that was an error, what do you have to say about one of the weapons used by the assassins or by the armed robbers? The weapon that they claim was found in a dustbin was handed over to a policeman who took it to Ezike police station. Again, that was incidented on 24th April 2012. And they asked where the officer, they said they went to East Timor. All right, wherever he went to. But however, this was the entry or the extract, according to this produced by the DPO in charge of Ezike police station. And of course, when he saw the manifest contradiction, he tried to discredit the DPO. But the DPO is part of the Nigeria Police Force. He's not my agent, he's not my appointee. So if, as the police are suggesting, that the DPO lied or that he made fake entry, it is now the police headquarters that's accusing his own DPO of falsified report. All of that leads to only one possible conclusion. It confirms our thesis that there is an attempt to cover up. It confirms our view that this investigation has been bungled, that the investigation was shoddy, and that very senior people in the police force are working tirelessly to shield those who are behind the murder of Olaitan. And you know that having charged, the fact that the public is aware that two sets of criminals have been charged will raise a serious issue at the level of prosecution. And to the DC, if in his wisdom he had to attach an extract of a DPO entry which he believed was falsified to support a murder charge, he's providing the loophole for a judge to dismiss the case. And no judge will convict because it's about life and death. In criminal matters, it is beyond reasonable doubt. So once doubt has been created, so on the one hand you talk of 24th, on the other hand April, both in terms of the weapon and in terms of the... So overall, I think we have seen that democracy works. And I want to congratulate and appreciate the National Assembly, the House of Representatives for creating this forum, not only for the civil society, but for all of us to express our views. And for me, the implications are clear. Again, I wonder if I read out a paragraph in the DC's report to his superiors, where an IPO who investigated the case, in his summary, says, we have done a thorough job, we worked so hard, we've shown courage. Courage now to do what? Now, what courage is involved in this, in establishing and arresting petty criminals? What courage does it require? But it requires courage to falsify records. It requires courage to tell official lie and to labor hard to try to cover up that lie and dress it up otherwise. It requires a lot of courage and a lot of negative intelligence. And for you to have the guts to ask your boss to promote you on the basis of a document which even by his own narrative now is full of errors. Asking his boss to promote him shows that he thinks he has done a good hatchet job for which he should be compensated. And it just reinforced my suspicion first that it's a case of assassination, two, that is an attempt to cover it up, three, that the police have a job to do. And I think as it is today, the other mistake I think the government made is to ask the police to now further investigate the suspects already, handed over to them by the SSS. I would have expected the IG to use a neutral team to look at those suspects' case and then make comparison. By asking the same man who is responsible for burgling this report to now also investigate the suspect handed over by the SSS, you cannot ask the man to discredit his own findings. Because he has already signed a document, he cannot arrive at a conclusion that will discredit his own findings. I think it was poor judgment to ask the same team to investigate the suspect handed over by the police. And I think as things are, my position is, it's not over until it is over. And I believe that the president has to set up an independent inquiry, preferably through the office of the National Security Advisor, who has overall supervision across security agencies, to pick men and women of integrity who he can trust to establish between the police and the SSS who is trying to cover up the truth. But for me, I'm clear, it is the police. Okay.
Your Excellency, my name is Hassan Turaki. I write for Daily Trust. In your submission, you raise objection to the fact that, as in another case which happened in Edo State, the DPP was asked to prosecute the case, not the Attorney General of Edo State. Yeah, of the Federation. Oh, yes. So, what do you make of that? Then, secondly, you gave an excellent description of the person of the IG of police as a friend whom you know. Now, with all this scenario, do you now have a change of perception about his ability to dispense justice in this matter?
No, I think I'm clear. I try, to make this point that ordinarily it is not right to helpful sometimes to mention names, but I had to mention the name of the DIG and the Deputy Commissioner of Police in order to avoid sweepy generalization. If I simply say the police, I am aware that there are men and women of integrity in police uniform. There are police officers. Just last week, the Sun newspaper celebrated a police ASP or inspector who courageously, risked his life, and they lost some of his men, but got some of the robbers who were disturbing part of Lagos. So we have men and women who are of integrity in the police force. And that's why I try to be very specific. The officer who the IG directed to head the investigation is Mr. Peter Gana, who is in charge of CID. He in turn chose and picked the DC Chris Ezike to investigate the case. And Ezike in his report says he worked under the close supervision of the DIG. And if the DIG is a party to these contradictions, he doesn't deserve to be a DIG. It's simple. Elsewhere, people will commit suicide. When at a certain level of responsibility, silly things like this happen in a matter in which the president of the country gave directive that you go and investigate and you boggle it. Is it a case of motor mechanic or a stolen car that you are likely to be diligent in investigating? So for me, I needed to make the point, and this is where I'm different. I have friends, but like I said today, even my job is not as important as the life of Olaitan Oyerinde. Because the man would have been president of Nigeria if God destined him to be. Any of us could be president. So I do not think that any of us, including the IG, should think that his job is more important than the life of a Nigerian. And so if there is conflict between my personal friendship and even my admiration of an officer, and on a particular matter, I am not satisfied with his conduct, I think I have the duty as a public officer to find the courage to say so publicly, particularly when